What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, and back with some Rise Against for the first time in a while. And we're returning to their second album, their last on Fat Records, Revolutions Per Minute 2003. I may have mentioned this in previous reactions, but ultimately their first two albums were on Fat Records, a famous punk rock indie label run by Fat Mike of NoFX, but eventually they went over to Geffen. And then I think since then they've been on Interscope and Virgin, so they've had a number of records put out under major labels, but they did get their start on a famous punk imprint. And I have their first three albums. I have the first two on Fat Records, and then Siren Song of the Counterculture, which is also very good, their first record on Geffen. And then for whatever reason, I just stopped following them after that. Not like deliberately or intentionally, but they just kind of fell off my radar for a little bit. But I've been trying to read about the albums they've put out since then, and we'll see if I can maybe snatch some of those in the coming months and years. In any case, we're going to listen to a tune called Last Chance Blueprint, which uses two different samples from the movie American Beauty. Now that's a movie from back then, I want to say very late 90s, early 2000s. It features Kevin Spacey, so it's a bit more awkward now, especially given his character's storyline. But without delving into that too deeply, I'll just say that it is a good film, and it's one which has a time-sensitive storyline for a couple of the major characters who, because of an incident, are pushed to having to leave their hometown. And the guy character of the two basically comes to this girl who he's started to see, even though I think neither of their parents, or well, at least his parent, who's this crazy old guy, I'll leave it at that, but he doesn't want them to get involved, and you know, he thinks something very weird is going on and is an abusive sort of father. So they have to maybe leave and go to New York. And he says to her, like, if I had to leave to New York right now, like tonight, would you come with me? And so that line is sampled, and the opening sample is the female character, the girl he's seeing, talking to her friend, who she's got a lot of, you know, different things going on in her life, but she's not terribly unsympathetic, or at least you can understand in some cases where her character's coming from, but she is a bit more of a mean girl, so to speak. So they're kind of shouting at each other, and the mean girl is saying to the other girl that, like, you know, this guy you've been seeing, he's a freak, he'll never be like us. And the other girl responds, well, you know, that's like fine, I'm a freak too, and we'll never be like you. So I don't know if this song is basically just taking the scene from the movie and writing a song about it, or if it's using those samples from American Beauty to characterize its own narrative about either, you know, the narrator or people in the personal lives of McIlrath or others in the band. But yes, it clearly plays directly off of the scenes in question from American Beauty. So I don't really know the story of the song beyond that. So either way, let's give it a listen. This is Rise Against. The tune is Last Chance Blueprint, and it's from their 2003 album Revolutions Per Minute. And I would point out in advance, not only do we get a lot of McIlrath's wicked, you know, like shout type of singing, but listen to the extension he does right at the end of the tune.
Janie's a freak! Well, then so am I! We'll always be freaks and we'll never be like other people! You'll never be a freak because you're just perfect!
Now, before the
I think there's some lines there that maybe depart from the narratives of the movie, talk about, you know, the blueprint turning gray and making reference to maybe hair turning gray, and we're right back where we started. And those lines, I suppose you could find a way to interpret them into the film. But that's why I suspect that it's taking the blueprint, if you will, of the film and then extrapolating that to a situation that is very similar, a chance to start over, or a pressing push factor that is leading you to have to leave, and that if you don't leave now, you probably never will, and maybe what could be, what might be possible, will never come to fruition. But yes, ultimately, if that is the case, if it's built off experiences or at least a story that's unrelated to the film, it is good use of sampling, which is not all that common in punk rock. I mean, certainly you could find examples, and in fact there's a pretty notable example from 88 Fingers Louie, again, a band that two of the members of Rise Against had been in before, or at least two of the original members. Nevertheless, the point is, you don't often hear samples in punk rock, and these are well chosen. I do enjoy Mikhail Rath's voice. He does shout singing better than a lot of other like screamo or scream punk type of bands. So yeah, I think his vocal quality lends itself to the urgency of the tune. In any case, I'm going to get back to some more Rise Against reactions, so hopefully you're here for it. Hopefully my eye will have recovered by then. Do let me know what you think. I'll see you next time. Peace.